Hello guys, Nightwolf here. Welcome to the channel. Playing a new game today. We found out that this one only came out a few months back. It's called Autopsy Simulator. So let's see how it goes and let's get into it and try and cut up some bodies to see what happens. So by the looks of it, we are doing the prologue first.
Office of the Medical Examiner, Pete'sville. Dr. Jack Hanman is speaking. How can I help you?
Good evening, this is Kate Brooks. I'm not sure if you remember me. A few weeks ago, we talked about an article I'm working on. It's about your wife. I dropped by last Friday to speak to you, but you weren't working at the time. I asked the security guard to pass on a note for me. I would like us to discuss the topic of...
I thought I had made it painfully obvious for the last time. No! Please don't call me again and stop inquiring about my wife. Damn journalists. They don't let me work. God damn it. I'm not in the best frame of mind to record a lecture for my students now. I'm feeling completely broken. Where did I leave my meds this time?
Alright, so it says here we got to check the bathroom for my pills. Try and work out which one's which. This one, okay. Bathroom, maybe. Yep.
Okay, time to pull myself together.
Could do with a little bit of fixing up, I think.
I need to set up the camera first.
So take the camera from the storage room. I'm guessing it'd have to be a room somewhere down here, maybe. So that's the autopsy room, okay. So it must be back this way. What's this one? Oh, there we go.
Now remember, Jack, don't forget, hit the record button this time.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea, so you can actually show people what you gotta do, dipshit.
Hopefully the new tripod is going to hold up.
Alright, let's see how we go.
Now, I just have to get everything in frame. This should be fine. November 20th, 1991. Time, 8:43 p.m. Recording for medical students from the University of Missouri. This autopsy is conducted by Jack Hanman. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the autopsy room. Today, you will have the dubious pleasure of following a full autopsy, step by step. For those of you who have already performed your first autopsy, this will refresh your basic knowledge. In turn, for those whose knowledge is only theoretical, I advise not to watch this after a meal.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't either. So take a look at the chalkboard. So I'm guessing it's this one here, maybe? No? This one here. Alright.
Let's start. Always wear an apron, mask, and gloves. Goggles are a must when the job is splashy. And in case of sharp accidents, it's worth having disinfectants at hand. It's true that you won't get ptomaine poisoning straight away, but if your liver or kidney aren't doing well, you may end up with diarrhea.
Fantastic.
The cadaver is placed on its back on the autopsy table. The pathologist stands on the right of the deceased. Make sure that all the necessary tools are always at hand so that you don't have to run around looking for something like I do all the time.
Uh-huh.
In the process of revealing and securing forensic evidence, it is difficult not to interfere with the original condition of the deceased. Written and photographic documentation plays a vital role throughout the entire examination process. During your research, be patient, inquisitive, but above all, attentive to detail. Many entries are visible at first glance, but sometimes they can be cover for more interesting stories. And lastly, remember that nothing teaches you self-narration like working with the dead. So get used to that fact soon. Everyone will think you're talking to yourself.
No, at least you can...
Now, onto the police folder. That will contain all sorts of pertinent information as to who the deceased might be and what potentially happened to them. So, let's take a closer look, shall we?
At least we can yell and scream at them and they won't talk back. Let's have a look here.
The deceased's name is Tobias Chambers, locally known as Old Toby. Homeless and unemployed for at least a couple of years.
Rightio. No, we'll go down here. We'll just go...
The deceased was found on the outskirts of a parking lot at a gas station, where he often begged and persistently offered drivers to wash their car windows.
Okay, so he was a homeless person by the sounds of it.
The body was noticed by a station employee during the morning shift. Initially, he thought that someone had thrown some boots and a coat in a nearby ditch. It took him a moment to recognize the pile of clothes as the body of a man.
Okay.
He worked most of his life at the local port dealing with unloaded cargo. He was fired for being drunk and starting fights. His son runs a hardware store on his own. His wife left him years ago. They both had no contact with the deceased. Signs of libation were found around the body. Empty bottles, traces of an inept attempt to start a fire, and a scattered makeshift blanket.
So we're going off all that information.
That's it. It's worth remembering the context around the scene of a death.
Alright,
This allows you to better interpret any traces found on the body. I shouldn't start the procedure without gloves.
So we gotta get the gloves. Chuck
Now
some
it's our
gloves
turn
on.
to take some pictures for our files. If I can just remember where I left the camera.
Oh, it's already highlighted,
It's in here
so...
somewhere. Aha! There you are. I knew it was here somewhere.
Alright, let's have a look at this shit.
As I mentioned at the beginning, before we begin the internal examination, we need to document the cadaver and the condition it arrived in. We begin with a full body photo. Try and stick to the top-down rule, but this is not always possible. Let's keep in mind it's all about the legibility, not the perfect frame.
So we're gonna get a full photo of the body.
Voila! Now we move on to the next step, looking for traces. Take your time. Look at the corpse from different sides, from different angles, up close, and from a distance. You're looking for anything out of the ordinary.
Alright. We've got some sort of scar tissue or something there.
The boiler healed wound. Looks old. I'll take a closer look later.
Okay. So by the looks of it, when you've got the camera, if you just go down the body and that, it's like it, what's it called? Can't even think of it. It comes up white, as you see there. Because if you go back this way, it goes dark. But if you look at the camera, the middle part goes like bigger and goes white. So that means you found
some
something.
wounds in the feet and signs of frostbite, probably because the subject's shoes were too small.
Looks like his fingers are about to fall off.
Hardened hands, worn out by physical work, and frostbite?
That's 3 out of 4 photos. Got something on his head there.
That's something interesting. It will be necessary to check whether this injury was severe enough to cause damage to the brain.
Alright, let's get
In a
into it.
moment, we will check which of our initial observations will be worthy of further consideration. But before we get to that, I need to write down some basic data.
Alright, so we pin photos to the chalkboard, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perform the autopsy. Oh, here we go.
personal information. The deceased was unclothed. Date. Okay, as you can see, I note everything down on previously prepared forms. Every pathologist must keep a detailed record of every step of the autopsy. This not only allows you to track the procedure, but also collates the results together, upon which you may back up your conclusions. So, enough of the boring prep. Let's begin by taking a closer look at the spots I photographed earlier. For this, you're going to need a magnifying glass.
Okay, so inspect the areas of concern with magnifying glass. So, what are we looking for? For the
Scalpel,
magnifying.
scissors, syringe, magnifying glass, knife. I guess I forgot to clean the knife.
Well, yeah. Alright, so we press right for the tools. So we want magnifying glass.
Which spot first?
We'll start from the head and work our way down.
I can confirm the presence of ecchymosis on the deceased man's head. The appearance indicates the intravital nature of the wound. Add alcohol, which I can clearly smell, and this was an accident just waiting to happen.
Alright, so that's that part. Then we got this one.
It looks like a burn mark, no doubt painful, but it's not pertinent for this case.
Alright. Actually, we'll go the hand and then go the foot.
Here we can see frostbite on the fingertips. We can tell by the characteristic skin color.
Nice. And then we got his foot.
Definitely a painful mix of frostbite, abrasions, and blisters. Old Toby had been wearing shoes too small for him for a very long time. That's if he wore any at all. So far, there are a lot of superficial wounds, but only one serious injury to the head. Let's go back to our notes.
Alright. So we go
First,
clipboard.
I mark the location of the injuries and make notes for each one. So
we had his
the
head.
head wound. Definitely an important clue. This is something we'll investigate first.
And then on the side
Even though
near
this
his
type of
ribs.
wound didn't contribute to the deceased's death, we're still required to record it. We're
His
not
left
in
hand.
frost season yet, but high humidity, wind, and the inability to warm up can also be causes of frostbite.
And his
If
foot.
Toby's body was cold for a prolonged period, the frostbite could have resulted from the body's defense reaction. The safety of the internal organs is more important than fingers, nose, or ears. As you can see, we don't have much to go on. Let's write down what preliminary causes of death we can think of. Various types of accidents are a common cause of death among the homeless and the elderly. Perhaps old Toby slipped and accidentally hit his head. This is of no interest to us. Considering the conditions in which he slept, his body may have become hypothermic. The nights have been particularly nasty lately. We will check if there are any signs of freezing internally. Since the deceased clearly smelled of alcohol, I'll add alcohol poisoning to our list.
And there we go.
We still have one thing left from the basics: rigor mortis.
Alright, so rigor mortis. So what are we going to do? Perform the rigor something. The rigor mortis examination, okay?
Well, we take our deceased by the hand.
So what do we do?
Gradually we raise it.
Okay, so I think we got to keep pressing X.
Now let it go. As you can see, the hand falls loose. What's the conclusion? Death must have occurred more than 72 hours ago. The police
lovely.
information appears correct. Head trauma seems the most promising, so we'll start there. For this, I need an oscillating saw.
Oh, lovely. So select the skull saw and open the cranium. So the cranium is the top part of your head. As soon as I can find what I'm looking for. Anything over here? Nope. Nope. Okay. So that's the recording. I think. Which button was it? So tools. So what did we need? We needed the saw.
The cut is made from ear to ear.
Oh, this looks fantastic.
After which, we remove the skin and the top of the skull.
Nice.
After the basic examination, we can see that the brain's cerebral gyri in both hemispheres are symmetric. The brain looks good. Let's take a cross-section.
Alright, so...
Some pathologists prefer to examine organs without removing them. However, for me, it's much more convenient to examine them on a board, which we'll do now.
Cool, now we get to cut it open.
Holding a long, narrow blade knife in the dominant hand, we slowly cut the cranial nerves on both sides, all the time pulling the brain towards us.
Ooh. So we'll go all the way up here. And then all the way down.
So far, so good. The hematoma seems to have had no effect on the brain.
Okay. So now return to the autopsy.
We can rule the fatal accident out as well.
So... what does that mean?
Brain is in good condition, so we have no choice but to proceed to the internal examination of the other organs. I grab a scalpel from my kit.
Alright, so now we need a scalpel.
The incision should be in the shape of a letter Y.
This could be interesting.
We use a deep cut to reach all the way to the ribs and to penetrate the abdominal wall.
Alright, so that part's done.
Alright, now we peel back and separate the skin.
Ooh. Rightio. That just looks a little... how you doing?
Now, we need to remove the ribs. We'll need the loppers for this.
Oh, this could be interesting. The sound of cracked ribs. So what do we need? We need the loppers. Okay. Here goes nothing.
Quite a satisfying crunch, for some anyway. After removing the cartilage tissue, we instantly notice two things. Firstly, there is no congestion of the internal organs. This means that although the deceased was hypothermic, it didn't kill him. Secondly, the deceased smoked like a chimney. So, we should take a closer look at those lungs.
Alright, so... begin a thorough lung analysis by examining the lungs. So... what are we going to do here? So with the tools... there we go.
We can see widespread black and tarry deposits caused by smoking cigarettes. Despite the tragic condition of the lungs, they are not the cause of death. Alice smoked too. It didn't kill her, but uh, what was I talking about? Lungs. Yes. Advanced inflammation.
So mark the diagram of the lung on the clipboard. Okay. All right. I'm guessing that's that.
What now?
Select the syringe.
Now's a good time to collect some samples.
So select the syringe and obtain 3 samples for toxicology testing. So I need that one.
Specifically 3. From the eye, the heart, and the bladder. I'm interested to see the concentration of alcohol in the body.
So when you get this syringe and you put it over where the circles are, they actually go a bit smaller. So
From the bladder,
that means
we
that
draw about 10
you're in the right
milliliters of
spot.
fluid. 5 milliliters from the left ventricle should do it. Vitreous humor analysis is very useful in indicating long-term alcohol abuse. Now we take our samples to the centrifuge, but before I do that, I need to find my notebook. My dyscalculia means that I always double-check the settings.
Alright, so we've got to retrieve the notebook from the office.
Please excuse me while I run and fetch it.
This way, I'm guessing. Gotta go back and find my office, wherever that is. Somewhere along here. Yep. Here we go.
This whole thing is covered in stains. I should check this out under the microscope sometime.
Alright, so use the centrifuge.
We put all of the samples into the rotor.
Alright, so they're all in there.
Now we set the appropriate time and speed.
So notes. So for the alcohol and all that, so it's 15 minutes at 70%. Okay. So this one. So that's about there. And speed. What did I say? It was like 70%. Set the correct values on both dials and start machine.
Okay,
there we
let's
go.
Roll.
So, circle to start configure.
Oh shit, the fuses again.
Really?
Where were we?
Upgrade your house, you dumbass.
The blood alcohol concentration. Let's see what we've got here.
So collect the samples from the centrifuge rotor.
Everything's separated as it should. Our lab is closed until tomorrow after the last, incident. However, considering that Toby's favorite eau de parfum appears to be ethanol, I'm guessing the results won't surprise me at all.
Alright, so we've done that. Rightio.
Let's go further. We will now focus on the cardiovascular system, specifically the heart.
Oh, we get to cut out the heart now. Nice. So return to the
Remove the
autopsy.
organ and examine it closely.
So begin a thorough heart analysis and examining the organ.
We look for
Okay.
dark hypoxic areas, clots, or other elements that stand out as abnormal.
So you got to use your right analog stick to
At first
rotate
glance,
the heart.
the heart looks fine. The pulmonary trunk and aorta seem to be in good condition. There are no pathological changes that would have contributed to Toby's death.
Alright, so
Now
close
let's take a
clipboard.
closer look at the stomach.
Alright, so begin a thorough stomach. Alright, so begin a thorough stomach analysis by examining the organ.
Size is normal, healthy, pink color, and as expected, the stomach has no major external damage. We must now cut it open and inspect inside.
Oh, we get to cut up more stuff.
We will do it carefully so that its contents do not spill out.
Alright, so we're cutting up.
We
There's
open the stomach along the
okay.
greater curvature, from the heart to the pyloric end. Oh, I already feel like there's something left inside.
So by the looks of it, yeah, you got to follow all the lines. So then that way they cut it properly, but you can't touch the outside of the lines. It'll actually stuff up the incision.
Okay, large amount of gas, small amounts of yellow, grayish food content, resembling some kind of meat. Either our deceased hadn't eaten in days, or the bulk of his stomach had already found a way out. Looks like I'll have to find the missing contents.
Return to the autopsy. Okay.
There are two ways here. One is obvious, and the other is... It couldn't have been suffocation, could it? I'll add this to the list and move on to the deceased's neck.
Alright. So what are we going to do? Begin a thorough trachea analysis by examining the throat. Ooh.
At first glance, the trachea looks normal. Same result as with the stomach. The external inspection doesn't tell us anything. This time we'll cut on a tray.
Alright, so now we get to go and cut open the freaking trachea of his throat.
Trachea, we must make a precise incision. To be able to cut with the very tip of the blade, we
Well,
must hold the scalpel as we would a pen.
That's all that way. There we go.
And after careful examination and deduction, we've got it. A clogged trachea. It's time to summarize the whole thing.
Alright, so now return to autopsy.
Based on the report and preliminary documentation, it's safe to assume that the deceased passed out after consumption of alcohol and then fell asleep on his back.
So by the sounds of it, he got
Then,
done by
the gastric
asphyxiation.
contents refluxed and flooded the airways, causing death.
So note the main cause of death. So from what he was saying, it's asphyxiation where he's actually choked.
That's why we don't forget about the recovery position at dorm parties.
Nice. Decide the appropriate, yeah, so it was asphyxiation. Alright. Do we have to do anything else? Okay, why can't I do anything now? Decide the appropriate main of death. Oh, yeah. So, if it's asphyxiation, it means that it was an accident.
Now it's all clear. The death
And we've
was
just got a sign.
suffocation. Now, signature. The mystery is solved. But for us, this is not the end. First, the dead body needs to be cleaned up. For this, we will need to close the body and grab the needle. First, we unroll the skin flaps.
Oh, lovely.
And then, we sew the deceased
So
back
we
up.
need the needle. So
I'm
choose this
using
one.
the baseball stitch technique. This stitching method is very strong and quick to do.
So now we've got to stitch him back up.
Beautiful.
So leave the body.
Now we say goodbye to the deceased and put them safely in the fridge, ready for the next stage of their journey.
Nice. So place the body in the fridge or whatever. And close it. So there we go.
God, I'm tired. I'll drop these samples off at the lab on the way to the bar.
So head to your car in the parking lot.
I'll call Steven. I don't feel like drinking alone today.
There we go. So that's the prologue done. So what I'll do is I'll carry on with the next one when it when I get to do it. Thanks for watching the prologue of the Autopsy Simulator game. And I will talk to you guys soon. Nightwolf out.